about 2 weeks before the end of my 8th grade year in school. And we were living over on the west side of the state, over in the Spanaway, Tacoma area at the time. And my dad came up to me and my 2 brothers and made an announcement. He said, in 2 weeks, when school's out, we're moving. He said, each of you can have a small corner of the trailer to put a little bit of your stuff. And then there was a long pause, and he added, and your mom's not coming with us. No explanation, no discussion. 2 weeks later, we loaded up into our Jimmy 4x4 that sat in the driveway. We're getting ready to back out, and Dad says, we're gonna take a vote. Each of you can take one vote. Do you want to move somewhere where it's warm all the time? Or do you want to move somewhere where there's 4 seasons? Now, what I didn't know at the time was that this was, once again, one of my dad's no-plan plans. And we were literally, in that moment, sitting in the Jimmy 4x4 deciding as to where we were going to go. Now, my older brother, Rich, who was 16 at the time, he was going to be a junior, he voted first. He said, warm all the time. Well, I voted next. I voted 4 seasons. So my younger brother was the deciding vote as to where we would end up. He was 9 at the time. He voted 4 seasons. So Dad started the car. He backed slowly out of the driveway, and we headed east across Washington State towards Cheney and Spokane. We slept in the car. Dad would occasionally get a loaf of white bread and bologna, and that's what we ate for days and days and days. Dad trying to get someone to sell us a place to live. Now, of course, no one would. He didn't have any money. So after several days of doing this all around Cheney and Spokane, Dad finally got frustrated and gave up. And he said, fine, if no one will sell me anything here, we'll just head up north to Canada. I bet you someone there will sell me something. So we left the Cheney Spokane area and started our trek north. Dad stopped at every little town along the way, trying to get someone to sell us a place to live. It was getting late one night, and we came across a place called Blue Slide. It's right along the Ponderay River on our way up north, you know it. And it's a rustic resort of sorts, I guess you could say. People could park their RVs, and there was a few little cabins that people could rent. Well, Dad pulled over, and he asked the owner if it would be okay if we just parked there for the night to get a little rest. Well, I think he must have felt sorry for us, because he gave us the cabin closest to the road for 1 night. I remember taking the longest warm shower I have ever taken in my entire life. And how good it felt to sleep in a real bed, even if just for 1 night. We got up early the next morning and continued north towards the border. It wasn't until we came upon the itty bitty town of Ione, Washington. Population 500, it might even be less now than it was back then. And there was someone there so desperate to sell their double wide trailer that they took a chance on us and sold it. Now, as you can imagine, this was a crazy, chaotic time in my life. Homeless, sleeping in the car, very little food or money, no mom, not knowing where we would end up. But as soon as I got to Selkirk, that community took me over the place. It started with the volleyball coach, Ms. Carlson. Her kind, caring, encouraging spirit left no doubt that I knew Selkirk was going to be a safe place for me. 1 And then there was the secretary, Roxanne, who became like a second mom to me. She showed me what a healthy mother-daughter relationship should look like. She advocated for me, she showed up for me, she went to all my games, even when I went off to college. When she found out that my dad couldn't pay the electric bill and that we didn't have any warm water, she discreetly unlocked the locker room in the morning so I could go in and get cleaned up. She later went on to help me plan my entire wedding. Then there was my English teacher and track coach, Miss Baker. She spent countless hours with me one-on-one outside of class because reading and writing was so difficult for me. I also remember her making up jobs around school so I could earn a little money. And then there was the history teacher and basketball coach, Coach Kane. He helped me find a new big dream with basketball, and honestly, a much needed distraction from my own life. He invested in me and helped me get really good at basketball. I remember him pulling me aside one day and saying, "Sandy, if you work hard, you could earn a scholarship to play basketball at the Division I level." I didn't even know what Division I level meant at the time. But he planted a seed of hope. And that seed not only took root, but it grew strong. And I did end up earning that full-ride scholarship to play basketball at Gonzaga. And it was my ticket out of poverty and a tough life. It literally changed my family tree. However, I think the most valuable thing all of those people did for me up at Selkirk was they believed in me before I did. They saw something in me that I couldn't see yet. Potential. That I had a unique gift and talent to offer the world. And now looking back, what I can see and understand, it was during those high school days that I leaned on Coach Kane's, Miss Carroll's, Roxanne's, Miss Baker's, Miss Carlson's belief in me until I could grow and develop that belief in me myself. And if I'm being honest, there are still times today when the doubt creeps in that I continue to lean on their belief in me. How do you imagine the people at Selkirk made me feel? What do you think?
Valued.
Valued.
Loved.
Loved. Seen. I think one of your greatest legacies is going to be how you make the people around you feel. I had the honor a couple years ago to go back to Selkirk, and I got to speak to their staff, and I had an opportunity to speak to their students. And although they're all retired now, guess who showed up?